Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Fairy Frequency channel. Tonight we are reading from the book called The Dictionary of Dreams and Their Meanings by Richard Craze. And we've already done the introduction and the beginning of the book. Part 1 was called Why We Dream. So if you've missed any of the previous information from this book, you'll find it in our original collaborative playlist called Dreams and Visions, and you can also find it in Fairy Reads. So without further ado, let's get started with the Dictionary of Dreams and Their Meanings. So we are in part 1, and we're working on all about dreaming, and we're working now with dreaming through history. And this is a long segment, so beautiful art in this book. Here we go. I'll let you look at the art while I read. Dreaming through history. Since time immemorial, our dreams have been a source of awe and wonder. At various points in history, they have been seen as messages from the gods and supernatural experiences involving visions of the future, as well as indications of the state of our physical and mental health. Dreams have been used to shed light on the past, gain understanding of the present, and even to predict the future. This has not only been true for individuals, but also for whole nations. Some dreams have even changed the course of history. In this section, we will look at how dreams have been regarded through the ages in the ancient and classical world, in India and the Far East, in Europe and in traditional societies. We will also look at the important role that they have played in some of the world's major religions, including Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam. Since the dawn of time. How long is it since we began dreaming? We have no sure way of knowing, but stretching back into the mists of prehistory, cave paintings in France from Neanderthal period seem to indicate some sort of dream drawings above the heads of the hunters. Thousands of years later, when people began to discover ways of writing, they noted down their dreams. We know that dreaming was an important part of life in the ancient civilizations of Sumer, Assyria, Babylonia, and Egypt. Dreams were associated with divine or supernatural powers, and temples were dedicated to the gods of dreams. The first dream records. Clay tablets dating back around 3000 BC provide some of the earliest surviving writings of the human race. These tablets include the dream books of the Assyrians and Babylonians discovered at the Nineveh in the library of Ashurbanipal, circa 669 through 626 BC, an Assyrian king. Other similar tablets were discovered during excavations of a pyramid-type temple in Izida in Mesopotamia, on the top of which was a shrine to Nabu, the Sumerian god of wisdom. The tablet's cuneiform script reveals fragments of the Babylonian epic of Gilgamesh, the legendary warrior king of Sumer. They also tell us about Gilgamesh's dreams and how his mother, the goddess of Ninsun, interprets them. Her interpretation is often credited with being the first dream analysis, or at least the first for which we have a written record. The Dreams of Gilgamesh. Night after night, the aggressively powerful warrior, king of Sumer, Gilgamesh, was troubled by bad dreams. Disturbed, Gilgamesh takes the dreams to his mother, who tells him that someone as powerful as himself is about to enter his life. She predicted that his struggles to gain supremacy over the newcomer would fail, but that the two men would become close companions and together achieve great feats. Later on in the epic, Ninson's interpretations proved correct when Gilgamesh meets Enkidu, a wild man, an embodiment of an uncivilized primordial human, who does indeed become his friend and helps bring Gilgamesh back down to earth. Further on in this tale, Gilgamesh is warned in another dream of the death of Enkidu, which also comes to pass. So here we have above in this picture is Gilgamesh, the warrior king of the Sumerians, is recorded as being the first person in history ever to seek an interpretation for the dreams that were troubling him. And to the right here is an early cave paintings that have strange, almost dreamlike qualities about them. Are they portraying everyday life, or are they drawings of the dreams from the dawn of time itself? Portentous dreams. The primary interest in dreams at this time seems to have been in the salutary warnings that could provide about the future. Although dreams were also used as a form of gambling, where the dream symbols were used to predict lucky wins, furthermore, the Assyrians and Babylonians' dream books also reveal a concern with the dangerous aspect of dreams, allegedly sent by demons and spirits of the dead. To protect themselves from such harmful influences, people built temples to Mamu, the Babylonian goddess of dreams, and a proprietary rites were practiced in her name. Anzakwa, the god of dreams, was recognized and worshipped by the Sumerians, Assyrians, and Babylonians. Mythology of dreams. Looking at the mythology of an ancient civilization has been likened to reading a dream. That is because these stories represent what are sometimes referred to as cultural pattern dreams of that civilization. In other words, the gods and goddesses, the heroes and the villains, and the shapes and symbols of the stories are the same ones that people would have dreamt of that night after night. These characters represent what are known as archetypal images, presenting us with the themes and concerns that have always struck a chord deep within the heart and soul of humankind. Irrespective of time or place, these stories are able to teach us or remind us of universal truths. So here we also have the goddess Ishtar. Throughout the ancient world, the moon was worshipped in various forms. The Babylonian goddess Ishtar was known as Ashtart in Canaan, Isis in ancient Egypt, and Artemis in ancient Greece. Like the moon on its waxing aspect, the goddess is the symbol of fertility, and all life emanates from her. Yet like the waning of the dark moon, she is also the destroyer, the one who disappears into the darkness. However, like the crescent moon, the goddess is reborn and appears once again in her beneficent aspect. The story of Ishtar's descent into the underworld, where she is tortured and bleeds to death before being revived by the twins, plant and water of life, is a myth of regeneration, symbolizing the cyclical nature of life and the passage between worlds. So above here is a painting of Babylon's vast temples, which were built dedicated to Mamu, the Babylonian goddess of dreams, and dream interpretation was elevated to the status of a religion. And down here we have a quote that says, "And the goddess Ishtar appeared to each man in a dream, saying, I will march before Ashurbanipal, the king whom I have created." And that was from a Babylonian legend. Okay. Ancient Egypt. Like the Babylonians, the Egyptians also regarded dreams as warnings. Although they believed they came from the gods rather than from the spirits or demons, the Egyptians viewed dreams as a portal, a gateway to another world which they passed through every night. Here, in this other world, they could travel in their astral or dream body, gathering knowledge of far distant places, conversing with the gods, and meeting with the spirits of the dead. In general, dreams were regarded as helpful, although they could also be malevolent. In order to avert disaster, the gods demanded penance and sacrifices, although they would also answer questions put to them by the dreamer in a practice known as dream incubation. Dream incubation. The practice of dream incubation was widely observed throughout the ancient world. Although our first record of it comes from ancient Egypt, throughout the land, a number of temples known as seraphims were dedicated to Serapis, the god of dreams and dreaming. The most famous of these was at Memphis, dating back to around 3000 BC. Thebes was another important site. It was in such temples that dream incubation was practiced. This was an intensely ritualistic procedure intended to encourage an especially informative dream from the gods. Dream incubation seems to have been very popular and was used for a variety of purposes, including seeking remedies for particular illnesses, obtaining guidance on relationship or personal issues, and predicting what the future had in store. The practice was often dedicated to Imhotep, the god of healing. Incubation rituals. Ritualistic preparation for dream incubation were extremely complex and could last for several days. Typically, the incubant, or the dreamer, would take part in purification practices such as fasting, bathing, and abstaining from sex. They would also make prayers and offerings to the gods. Sometimes harmless snakes were placed around the dreamer's bed at the seraphim, and the dreamer would then go to sleep with his or her request in mind. Through their own rituals, while the dreamer slept, the temple priests often helped to seed the dreamer's request. At times, a stand-in dreamer was used in place of the person who was seeking help. The stand-in would be someone who was known to be gifted dreamer. When the dreamer or the stand-in awoke, the dream would be related to the oracles or priests for their interpretation. So let's go back to this. Here we have above, Egyptian pharaohs were accorded the statue of gods and were therefore linked with the dream travel. And above to the right, the city of Thebes, source of papyrus, thought to be the first dream record. Dream interpretations. Ancient Egyptian papyri reveals some of the conclusions the Egyptians reached about dream interpretation. One document dating back to the 13th dynasty, 1770 BC, concludes that if a woman dreams of kissing her husband, trouble lies ahead. This is an example of opposites, in which it is thought that a dream means the reverse of what it appears to suggest. One of the most famous dream records of the Egyptian era is the Chester Beatty Papyrus, which was inscribed around 1350 BC. It came from Thebes and contains references to about 200 dreams, many of which date from an earlier period. Particularly interesting are the details of 3 modes of interpretation, which anticipate principles used by Freud centuries later. These are the detection of hidden associations, the use of opposites, and the use of visual or verbal puns. Dream puns. Puns in this world of dream interpretation are rather like games of free association, where one thing reminds us of another. Sometimes these meanings are cataloged and get handed down in dream dictionaries, where they appear as utter nonsense to later generations, whose cultural references and languages are completely different. For instance, the Chester Beatty Papyrus reveals that in ancient Egypt to dream about bare buttocks means the dreamer is about to lose his or her parents. This may seem absurd until we realize that the word used for buttocks closely resembles the word for orphan. Okay. Now, in this little square down here, it says disposing of bad dreams. For dealing with recurring bad dreams, the ancient Egyptians had a curious ritual. On waking after another night of the same dream, they would blow out their breath into a special receptacle, usually a wooden cup, which was then thrown into the fire. The symbolic act represented burning the dream. Its negative power would be destroyed by the fire so that it could never return to haunt the dreamer. Here we have the dream of, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, Thotimus IV. One very early prophetic dream dates back to around 1420 BC. It is recorded on a sheet of granite and held between the paws of the great Sphinx at Giza, where it can still be seen today. While sleeping next to the Sphinx, Thotimus dreamt that he would one day be the ruler of Egypt and have long and prosperous reign. However, for the dream to come true, the gods told Thotimus that he had to clear away the sand from the statue. At that time, the Sphinx was neglected and beginning to disappear under the sand. When Thotimus awoke, he did as he had been instructed and then vowed to keep the Sphinx clean and well cared for the rest of his life. Thotimus later went on to become one of Egypt's pharaohs. Now we've moved on to the classical world. Okay. Oneirology is the study of dreams. The word is derived from oneros, the word for dreams in the ancient Greek language. Like their knowledge in so many areas, the ancient Greeks' understanding of dreams was especially sophisticated, and several well-known thinkers of the day debated and gave their insights on the subject. This information was later extended and classified by the Romans to give us a wide body of knowledge from the classical world. Both civilizations used dreams as a form of predictions and as a way of gaining insights into the mind of the dreamer. So down here we have a picture of Homer, seen here being honored by the gods, made the distinction between true and false dreams, and talked of the danger of being unable to distinguish between the two. Gates of horn and ivory. The earliest mention of dreams in Greek literature is from Homer. We have little information about Homer or his life, but many historians date his era as sometime in the 700s BC. We know that at this time there was widespread belief in the divine origin of dreams, which were regarded as messages to humanity from Zeus, communicated by Hypnos, the god of sleep, and his son Morpheus, the god of dreams. However, not all dreams were necessarily reliable. Homer distinguishes between true and false dreams, writing that true dreams come through a gate of horn, and false through an ivory gate. Such distinctions were not merely of theoretical interest, as to act on a false dream as if it were true could have disastrous consequences. Centuries later, for instance, the Persian leader Xerxes' dreams falsely convinced him that an attack on Athens would end victoriously. Acting on the advice, Xerxes led his army to destruction in 480 BC. Homer's Odyssey. In this epic work, the Odyssey, Homer enlarges on the idea of true and false dreams through the character of Penelope, who remarks that dreams are awkward and confusing, for what it is in them does not necessarily come true, she says. There are two gates through which these insubstantial visions reach us. One is of horn and the other of ivory. Those that come through the ivory gate cheat us with empty promises that never see fulfillment, while those that issue from the gate of burnished horn inform the dreamer what will really happen. Significant and non-significant dreams. Influenced perhaps by Homer's ideas, the ancient Greeks also distinguished between two types of dreams, the significant and the non-significant. Significant dreams were the ones which came from the gods. These were the ones that people wanted to have when they were about to undertake an important project, such as a business venture, a voyage, or new relationship. The non-significant dreams were more personal to the dreamer. The gods played no part in these, and the way they are reported makes them sound more like the sort of dream we experience for the most part today. Dreams and healing. The tradition of healing temples and dream incubation is one that was continued by both the Greeks and the Romans, especially for acquiring information to treat disease. In ancient Greece, famous sleep temples at Oropos and Epidaurus were dedicated to Asclepios, the god of medicine, although it is believed that hundreds more temples existed throughout the ancient and classical world. The temples were situated in places of natural beauty, surrounded by fragrant plants and herbs, natural springs, or shady forests. Another common feature was the serpent, and today the ruins at Epidaurus show us the pit where snakes were kept for healing and incubation purposes. This association of snakes with the healing developed into the familiar symbol of the caduceus, a healing staff entwined by two serpents. Today, this symbol is widely used by many healing professionals. Hippocrates. Known as the father of modern-day medicine, the Greek doctor Hippocrates, 460 to 377 BC, accepted that some dreams were of divine origin and could prophesy events. He endeavored to put his capacity to scientific use by using the symbolism of dreams to diagnose the dreamer's state of health, associating the microcosm of the human body with the macrocosm of the universe. In his treatise on dreams, for instance, Hippocrates asserts that bright stars in the dream indicate good health, whereas to dream of dim stars precedes illness. Dreaming of flowing rivers, he states, indicates problems with the urinary system, while dreaming of floods points to an excess of blood and the need to bleed the patient. Such dreams are referred to by Hippocrates as prodromal, from the Greek word prodromos, meaning running before. So above here is a shadow box carved of Hippocrates. The Greek physician believed dream interpretation was connected to physical sickness. If you dreamt of specific sickness or disease, it meant that you were suffering from it in real life. And down here we have the Delphic oracle. The word oracle also means answer, and oracle dreams were incubated at the famous site of Delphi. Widely believed in ancient times to be the center of the world, the site was situated on sulfurous hot springs, and its entrance bore the inscription, "Know thyself." Hallucinogenic plants such as henbane and jimson weed were burned to put the seer or the oracle into a trance and make them ready to receive dreams and visions from the gods. The philosophers. It would be wrong to assume that all Greeks subscribed to the mystical significance of dreams. Many famous thinkers challenged this notion, and their ideas have been highly influential in the way dreams are regarded by Western society. Heraclitus, 430 to 370 BC, is generally regarded as the first person to proffer a purely rational explanation. Far from being a communication from the gods, he asserted, someone's dream world is entirely personal to them. It has nothing to do with anything outside of the dreamer's mind and is simply an ordinary experience, having less significance than anything that happens while in waking consciousness. However, perhaps more than any other thinker, it is Aristotle, 384 to 322 BC, who comes closest to our modern way of looking at the meanings of dreams. Aristotle's contribution. From his observation of sleeping animals, Aristotle concludes that it is not only humans who have dreams. He uses this as evidence to counter any theory that dreams have any divine or cosmic pattern or that they have any particular significance. He also notes that since all external sensations are reduced or absent during sleep, subjective sensations must be highlighted. He goes on to assert that dream images can have an influence on subsequent behavior, and that sense dreams can be prophetic, as our thoughts are influenced by what we have seen during sleep. He also claims that the insights available from dreams are like objects reflected in water. When the water of the mind is calm, the images are easy to see. When the water is troubled, the reflections become distorted. He says that the more the mind can be calm before sleep, the more the dreamer can learn. Aristotle's theories were outlined in three seminal works on dreams, on sleep and waking, and on prophecy in sleep. So above here we have some Greek philosophers would have nothing to do with the dream interpretations, whereas others were convinced that dreams had mystical importance. The two groups debated the issue endlessly. And above here, the emperor's dream. After Calpurnia's prophetic dream about her husband, Julius Caesar, Caesar's heir, the Emperor Augustus, pictured above, 63 BC to AD 14, made a law declaring that anyone having a dream about the emperor's welfare should announce it in the marketplace. According to another historical text, Tranquillus Lives of the Caesars Augustus set such store by dreams that he made a fool of himself. He went about Rome begging for alms because it had been predicted that he would do so in a dream. Dreams and the human psyche. In his theories, Aristotle also links the hallucinations of the mentally ill, the illusions of ordinary people, and the content of dreams and fantasies, concluding that they may all share a common origin, an idea which was later developed by the 20th century psychologist Carl Jung. Plato, from 427 to 347 BC, another one of the Greek philosophers, also had ideas about dreams which predate 20th century psychology. He describes the human psyche as possessing a lawless wild beast nature which peers out in sleep. As we no longer exercise rational control while sleeping, our lust and rage can enjoy free and full expression. Centuries later, such a view would be central to Sigmund Freud's idea about defining human personality and behavior. Prophetic dreams in Rome. Accounts of prophetic dreams have occurred throughout history, with some of the most well-documented being those foretelling the death of the dreamer or someone close to him or her. The citizens of ancient Rome seem particularly fascinated by the possibility of this phenomenon, and there are several reported instances of such dreams. For instance, the Roman historian Plutarch, AD 45 to 125, tells us that Calpurnia, the wife of Julius Caesar, 100 through 44 BC, dreamed of Caesar's assassination by Brutus the night before it happened. Similarly, the day before Caligula was assassinated in AD 41, he reputedly dreamed that he was standing beside the heavenly throne of Jupiter, when the god gave him a push with his big toe, causing the emperor to fall to the earth. Dream dictionaries. While the Greeks may have brought elements of logic and reason to the world of dreams, it took the orderly Romans to catalog and classify the information. One of the most outstanding contributions was Artemidorus' 5-volume Onerotica, The Interpretation of Dreams. A Roman soothsayer of the 2nd century AD, Artemidorus traveled extensively throughout the Roman Empire, researching the dreams and drawings on knowledge from earlier times. His work includes more than 3,000 dream reports from his interviewees and is today acknowledged as the first true dream dictionary ever written. Artemidorus suggests that dreams are entirely individual and that the contents are relevant only to the dreamer. The dream symbol and imagery that are found in these personal dreams are both cultural and individual, and are influenced by such aspects as the dreamer's health, state of mind, and occupation. Artemidorus notes two broad classes of dreams. Insomnium are dreams about everyday things, and somnium are those that are concerned with the future. His approach is through and systematic, and some symbolism is identified. For instance, dreaming of plowing the earth is regarded as a sexual symbol, while a dream of a mouth represents the dreamer's home. More than a century later, the second Oneirodicon appeared, compiled by Astromcycus. This one contains some axiomatic statements as to where a purple robe threatens a lengthy disease. Above here we have the assassination of Julius Caesar by Brutus, was said to have been foreseen in a dream by his wife Calpurnia. This detail of the story has survived and has continued to fascinate people from ancient Rome to modern times. Down here we have a quote. She dreamt tonight. She saw my statue, which like a fountain with 100 spouts did run pure blood, and many lusty Romans came smiling and did bathe their hands in it. William Shakespeare, from Julius Caesar. India and the Far East. While the civilizations of the Near and Middle East attributed dreams to a divine agent, in India and the Far East they were regarded as having an inner source. In China, dreams were thought to emanate from the soul, while in India and Tibet they were associated with the state of mind. In all these civilizations, dreams were inextricably linked with the philosophy, spirituality, and mythology of their cultures. In the Far East, in particular, surviving texts reveal a sophisticated understanding of dreams, an understanding echoed in the oral traditions of many indigenous peoples. The Atharva Veda. According to legend, the 52 great rishis, or seers, of ancient India traveled to the highest mountains of the Himalayas seeking guidance to help humanity. During their meditations, they believed that they discovered how the universe works. The knowledge was eventually transcribed into the Vedas, the sacred book of the Hindus, which scholars date between 1500 to 1000 BC. One of these texts, Atharva Veda, contains many references to dreams, providing information about how they occur, what purpose they serve, and how to interpret them. Lucky and unlucky dreams. When trying to make sense of complex information, a first response is often to classify it into opposites. This holds as true for dreams as for anything else. Where other ancient cultures distinguish between good and bad, divine or demonic, and true or false, dreams, the Vedas focus on the distinction between lucky and unlucky dreams, having particular interest in a dream's predictive power. For instance, the Atharva Veda comments that showing passivity in a dream is a bad omen, whereas an aggressive dream is favorable. However, if the dreamer receives any injury, this is considered an ill omen. The omen is made worse if the injury, such as an amputation of a limb, is something that could occur in waking life. The effects of unlucky dreams can be countered by performing purification rites, such as burning incenses and ritual bathing. Timing and personality. For the first time, the personality type of the dreamer is taken into account in a dream interpretation. For instance, a depressed person is more likely to have depressing dreams, while a hyperactive sort is more likely to have manic dreams. The Atharva Veda also theorizes that a person's dreams occur in cycles throughout the night, with the most important dreams occurring towards the end of the dreaming cycle or later on in the night. In fact, the later on in the night a dream occurs, states the Vedas, the more likely as well as the more quickly it is to come true. So down here we have the Hindu deities. During the Vedic period, a pantheon of Hindu deities developed. A lot of these gods and goddesses have strange dreamlike qualities to them. For instance, Ganesh is the elephant-headed god of wisdom and remover of obstacles, and the god Shiva has 4 arms, 4 faces, and 3 eyes. Shiva wears the skin of a tiger and has a snake entwined around his neck, representing 2 powerful demons that he has defeated. In his fight against a particularly powerful demon, Shiva calls on the goddess Kali, the dark side, of his consort Devi to help him. Kali, shown at left, is usually depicted wearing a girdle of severed arms and a necklace of skulls. Her bloodthirsty tongue lolls from her mouth, and she carries a sword in her left hand. Intoxicated by her murderous killings, she dances on the bodies of her victims. The 2 worlds. The Vedas also contain texts known as the Upanishads, philosophical works that expose spiritual truths. One of the most elaborate and important of these is known as the Brihadaranyaka, sometimes described as the cosmic meditation. This text declares that essentially there are 2 states, one in this world and one in the other. A third intermediary state exists, the state of sleep and the land of dreams. It is while we are in the intermediary world that we have the capacity to perceive the real world and the next simultaneously. In this context, the dreaming state is considered to be more important than the waking state because it is then that we have access to the realm of knowledge and experience denied to us when we are awake. To this end, techniques such as yoga and meditation were developed to help us attain or become more open to this other world, experienced as a place of heavenly bliss. Above here, the Hindus believe that we can attain enlightenment during our dreams, only for it to evaporate when we awake. The Far East. It was not only in India that dreams were linked with spirituality and states of mind. An important Chinese Taoist manuscript known as the Li Tzu distinguishes between 6 different types of dreaming: ordinary dreams, day residue dreams, dreams of waking, dreams of fear, joyful dreams, and terror dreams. Taoism and later Buddhism were hugely influential throughout Far East. Both of these spiritual traditions assert that the worlds we see in our dreams are more or less identical to the worlds we will experience after death. The Bardo. The Book of the Dead is the ancient Tibetan Buddhist text written to help prepare the soul for death. It describes death as a dreamlike condition. When the soul leaves the physical body, it must pass through the Bardo, which has 3 distinct illusory states. As we pass through each state, we face a multitude of self-created thought forms, which may be pleasant or fearful, according to our thoughts and expectations. By becoming aware at any time that what we are experiencing is an illusion, the soul is elevated to a higher plane and avoids the constant cycle of death and rebirth. Consequently, learning to remain conscious while sleeping, being aware that we are dreaming while still in the dream, is seen by Tibetan Buddhists as a vital part of spiritual preparation for death. Today in the West, the state or technique is referred to as lucid dreaming. Pao and Hun. In ancient China, it was believed that we possess 2 types of soul. The material soul, or Pao, motivates us in daily life and is implicit in our physical makeup. The soul dies when the body dies. Additionally, we possess an eternal soul, or Hun, which survives us at death, leaving the physical body in the material world for a different plane of existence. Every night during sleep, the Hun temporarily separates from the dreamer's resting body to travel the world of dreams. This concept is similar to the idea many Western esoteric traditions hold today of the dream body and astral travel. As the dreamer sleeps, the Hun communicates with spirits, demons, and ghosts, bringing back memories of its nightly travels to the dreamer. Above here, to the Buddhist, this whole world is a waking dream. Once we perceive that we can really wake up to a new reality, but might not this also be another dream? And down here to the right, the Tibetan Book of the Dead is a very ancient manuscript written on a wooden tablets. It is a dialogue with the dead who are said to have entered the bardo. The dream state between the living and the dead is carried out. The City of Dreams. In ancient China, people believe in the divine city of dreams, known as Changhong. The city was thought to hang halfway between heaven and earth and is a place we go to when we are asleep. To enter the celestial city, the dreamer had to pass through the moon gate, which necessitated being pure in mind and body. Once safely inside the city, the dreamer could leave their body and astral travel anywhere in the world. In this context, it is interesting to note that the Chinese had a god of the South Pole, a geographical region they had not actually discovered. Did the Chinese know of its existence because they had traveled there in their dreams? Bedroom rituals. To pass through the moon gate easily, rituals were practiced before going to sleep. These included lighting incense and proceeding around the bedroom in an anti-clockwise direction, beginning in the east and moving through the south, the west, and the north before getting into bed. It was also important to make sure that the bedroom was decorated in auspicious colors, typically red and gold, and to make sure that nothing hung over the bed which could interfere with the exit of the spirit body. Consequently, it was thought inadvisable to sleep under such things as beams, canopies, mirrors, or lights. Similarly, great care had to be taken to ensure that the spirit body could safely return to the dreamer's physical body. Playing tricks on a sleeping person, such as altering their physical appearance in some way, or else waking someone up too abruptly, was believed to be dangerous. The returning soul needed to be able to recognize the sleeping body, and it also needed time to re-enter the body. If the soul could not return for some reason, the sleeper would die. So down here in this little box, it talks about dreams and astrology. Written around AD 640, the earliest Chinese book of dream interpretation is the Mangshu. It suggests that many factors should be taken into account before interpreting a dream. These include the time of year and astrological factors such as the position of the planets. It also is believed that external stimuli could be reflected in dreams. Sleeping on a belt, for instance, might produce dreams of a snake. Muzhen dolls. In ancient China, great faith was placed in Muzhen, the wooden man or dream doll. For instance, if a child was suffering nightmares, the parent would give the dream to the Muzhen doll, and he would then be sent away, taking the bad dream with him. Alternatively, if a dreamer wanted to make her wish come true, she would whisper it to the doll and then place him under her pillow as she slept. It was believed that during sleep the Muzhen would come to life and be a sacred warrior capable of granting persons' wishes, protecting them from harm, and generally acting as a friend and a helper. Above here, the Chinese believe that every part of the natural landscape is ruled by mythical creatures who protect it. Above left, the Chinese landscape has a dreamlike quality. European traditions. The custom of sleeping at holy places to incubate particular dreams was not confined to the ancient and classical world. Throughout Europe, the pagan Celts and the early Christians alike practiced the same procedures, sleeping at shrines to encourage visions and dreams of healing power. For the Celts, these sacred spots were associated with nature spirits, and for Christians, with the saints and the martyrs of the early church. As the influence of the church became more widespread, however, dreams were regarded with increased suspicion until, by the Middle Ages, they were largely seen as the devil's work. Celtic wisdom. The Celts believed that all things possess an immortal soul, which exists through many lifetimes, learning from its experience on earthly plane in its journey towards perfection. To ascertain the will of the gods and help the soul along its way, many methods of prophecy and divination were used. The natural world was believed to be an infinite source of magic and spiritual wisdom, and symbolic significance was given to such things as the shape of clouds, a particular animal or plant species, as well as the portents of dreams. Dreams were interpreted by Druid, which literally means the oak seer, or one who sees with the aid of the oak. In fact, trees were especially important, and specific qualities were attributed to each species. Dreams were incubated in sacred groves, where the dreamer could ask the spirit of the trees for healing and assistance. The early church. Traditional Celtic lore was frowned upon by Catholic doctrine, but theologians of the early church also began to comment on their dreams. In his treatise on Making of Man, 380 AD, Gregory of Nyssa asserts that dreams occur when the intellect and senses are at rest during sleep. The actual dream content is determined by the dreamer's memories of activities during waking life and his or her physical state. In other words, an individual's nature is revealed in his or her dreams. In Nyssa's view, dreams are most commonly motivated by the passions, expressions of our brute nature, which should be rigorously held in check by the intellect if we are to remain pure. Because the intellect is off guard during sleep, our passions can be given unbridled expression in our dreams. A little later, St. Augustine, 354 to 430 AD, noted that certain aspects of his mind were beyond his control, and he worried that God might hold him responsible for his dreams. In this box here, the Salmon of Wisdom. Stories about the source of all knowledge are practically universal. These symbolic tales have a rich dreamlike quality to them. In the Irish Celtic tradition, the Well of Nine Hazels is a dwelling place of salmon of wisdom. The salmon became wise when he imbibed the hazel nuts that fell into the well from the 9 hazel trees. It is said that whoever catches and eats the salmon will be imbued with its wisdom and filled with the imbas, or inspiration. Finn Eses, an elderly druid, captures the salmon and asks his young apprentice Fionn Macumhel, to cook it for him. While it is cooking, some liquor from the fish splashes on Fionn's thumb, and it is he and not Finn who gains the inspiration from the well. Below, right. Dreams were part of the religious and artistic world of the Celts, and artifacts from this era reflect this. Below, then we're looking at this one now, sorry. Dreams to early cultures were powerful messages from the gods, from nature, and from deep within. They were never to be ignored. The Middle Ages. It was not long before the Christian church associated human passions, especially sexual desires, with the devil or Satan. In their dreams, people were vulnerable to the temptations of the flesh. They could sin while asleep and not even know it, risking their souls to eternal damnation and the terrors of hell. They therefore should practice great vigilance against the devil and all his works, as he was believed to intervene in human affairs in order to possess people's soul. A regimen of devout prayer and austerity was recommended, and any who continued to sup with the devil were branded as witches, facing persecution, torture, and terrible death. Consequently, the capacity to have vivid dreams was greatly feared, and dream divination became linked with sorcery. It was at this point that dream divination in the West became an anathema and consequently went underground until its secular revival centuries later. Here, tree lore. The Celts ascribed a symbolic meaning to trees. The oak, or Godhead tree, held divine power and significance. Sleeping next to an oak tree could inspire prophetic dreams. Other important trees were the hazel, used as the druid's staff, holly, its red berries symbolizing the food of the gods, and ash, denoting health and immortal life. Above, dreams are mysterious markers of landscapes that affect us very deeply. Archetypes aren't just people, but also symbolize aspects of ancient culture. The Devil's Helpers. One of the dangers facing the dreamer was a nightly visitation from one of the devil's helpers. A succubus is a demon who assumes a female form and has sex with the sleeping men. She then collects the semen, using it as magical rites to produce the incubus, a male demon, or a satyr, faun, or devil. Any man unfortunate, or some would say wicked enough to attract the attentions of a succubus, was destined to follow the ways of the witch forever. By this means, Satan was said to increase his horde, his progeny, and to spread his diabolical craft of the witch. Witches, it was claimed, had sexual intercourse with incubi in order that they could give birth to the children of demons. Nocturnal intercourse. The word incubus means to lie on, and it was believed that any heavy feeling in bed, such as a weight pressing down on your chest, especially if accompanied by nightmares, was a sure sign that an incubus or succubus had attempted to have nocturnal intercourse with you. Today we know that dreaming affects the body as well as the brain. For both men and women, the body regularly shows signs of sexual arousal, sometimes to the point of orgasm. During sleep, even when erotic dream content is absent. Given the religious fervor of the Middle Ages, it is not altogether surprising that the idea of a demon lover was believed to account for this phenomenon. Here, the shepherd and the succubus. The 16th century author Nicholas Remy reports that the young shepherd who was found guilty of witchcraft began his evil ways by being seduced by a succubus while attending his flocks. It was said that whenever he fell asleep in the warm afternoon sunshine, he would dream of his demon lover, who took the form of a dairymaid with whom he was in love. She would allow the shepherd to fulfill his sexual desires with her, provided that he acknowledged her as his mistress and behaved to her as though she were a god himself. The shepherd claimed that she so possessed me that from the time I have been subject to no will but hers. Above. Today we are much more forgiving of people who suffer or enjoy sexual excitement while asleep. But to the ancient church, such people were very wicked indeed, and very inevitable, accused of devilish practices. Forerunner of the modern ages. Although St. Augustine was concerned about his inability to control his dreams, it was hundreds of years later before the idea that something goes on inside us that we know nothing about was clearly formulated. Von Leibniz, 1646 to 1716, compared the workings of the soul to the circulation of blood through the body. It is something that happens even though we are unaware of it. A little later, German physicist G.C. Lichtenberg, 1742 through 1799, made the first link between unconscious mental activity and dreaming. At the beginning of the 19th century, signs of a renewed interest in dreams began to gather momentum. Robert Cross Smith from England became very successful as an astrologer, practicing under the pseudonym of Raphael. In 1830, he published the Royal Book of Dreams, which gave the reader interpretations of particular kinds of dreams. However, it is thought that the work of a French doctor, Alfred Maury, 1817 through 1892, that we begin to enter a new age of dream interpretation. From his study of more than 3,000 dreams, Maury concludes that external stimuli are often responsible for what we dream about. Recent memories appearing in dreams, especially of the day before, are referred to as day residues. And Maury discovered that stimuli such as noises and smell often register as we sleep and become included in our dream. So, down here we have Maury's dream. In one of his dreams, Maury dreamt he had been condemned to death by the guillotine. As the blade was falling, he woke up to find the top of the bed had fallen and hit him on the back of the neck at the exact time that the guillotine would have struck him. This gave weight to Maury's theory that dreams happen so quickly that they are almost concurrent with the external stimulus that produces them. The Dream Demon of Moray Firth. Legend has it that the 16th century, a demon lover lived near the banks of the Moray Firth River in Scotland. The lover seduces a young girl, but the lovers are caught when the girl's parents overheard sounds of lovemaking coming from her bedchamber. The parents call the priest and together break down the bedchamber door to find the girl fast asleep in the embrace of a monster horrible beyond description. The priest recites from the Gospels, whereupon the evil demon gives a terrible cry, setting fire to the furniture in the bedroom and vanishing upwards, carrying the roof of the bedchamber with him. Above right. Much of the accusation leveled against so-called witches by the church involved detailed nightmarish descriptions of devilish creatures the women were said to have under their control. To the right. The only way to redeem a witch or possessed person was to exorcise the malignant spirit and extract a confession from the accused. Indigenous peoples. Traditional societies across the globe have dreaming traditions that stretch back into the mists of time. It seems that dreams have always been a part of the fabric of life for peoples as diverse as the Australian Aborigines, the Inuit from the Arctic regions, and the peoples of Africa, as well as the Native American Indians. Each culture has its own theory of dreaming and particular techniques interpreting dreams. Their dreams and symbols relate to a particular way of life, yet they all have something in common. Their dreams are respected as coming from a revered source, and are seen to contain important information. The dream time. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, the Aborigines traveled from Asia to the northern shores of Australia. Here they split into groups and moved around the land in search of water. They traveled great distances, and their legends say that they did so. As they did so, they deposited the spirits of those yet to be born along the way, leaving marks on the landscape, on the rocks, mountains, and other geographical features to signpost the places that they had been. According to legends, their ancestors were mythical figures, spirit beings who emerged from the earth, sea, and sky, who took on various forms, particularly of animals. They were given symbolic names such as the red kangaroo, the blue lizard, or the bellbird brothers. The era is known as dream time, when the ancestors created the landscape and set the pattern for the future. For centuries, the Australian Aborigines have followed in the footsteps of their ancestors, tracing the paths trodden by these giant beings and marking their sacred sites with ritual song and legend. Above. To the Aborigines of Australia, nothing is more sacred, more important, or more meaningful than the dream time, when the world was first created out of the seeds of the spirit ancestors. And down here at the bottom, a quote. Those who lose dreaming are lost. Australian Aboriginal proverb. The dream time is like a cosmic dreaming energy which can be set free in the ground if the ground is rubbed or stroked at the exact spot where the ancestors left the world at death and went into the ground. In ritual dances, these sacred sites on the landscape are struck, and the power of the ancestors is brought back to life from the sleep of death. If no one remembers or honors the dream time, the stories say, we shall remain trapped in the earth when we die and will cease to be. The dream is life. The dream time of the Aborigines is a complex concept. It is at once a creation myth, a whole series of fables, and an entire spiritual philosophy. For the native Australians, the whole of life had its evolution in dream time, and for them, everything around us is brought to life by the dream. They do not perceive time as a linear process, but rather see humans as existing in an eternal now, where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. The world as they see it is a magical place imbued with supernatural forces, and we are all, at all times, dreaming the dream, so that it can become impossible to differentiate between the waking and the dreaming state. African societies. The Bushmen of Kalahari hold a similar viewpoint, seeing the whole of life as a dream and believing that they are the ones being dreamed. Similarly, the Pagabodi people of Zaire consider that their dreams are sent from their ancestors and believe that the spirits of the past have access to wisdom that can help with daily life. For instance, hunting is important to the survival of the Pagabodi, and they believe that their dreams can give them important information that can help them be successful. To dream of encountering an animal in the forest is regarded as a good sign. Many other African societies set great store by dreams, believing that they are linked to destiny. All aspects of life, from cures for sickness and political decisions, can be based on dream advice. The dream smoke of Uluru. The two Bellbird brothers were hunting emu at the rock pool near Uluru, the most sacred of all Australian Aboriginal sites. This is pictured to the right. When their prey was disturbed by a young girl eating grubs, on her head she carried a sacred bundle which fell to the ground. The indentation is still to be seen in the base of the rock, but the brothers managed to catch the emu. They killed it and cooked it, but the blue lizard came and stole it. In punishment, the Bell brothers set fire to the blue lizard's hut, and he was burned alive. The smoke from the fire can still be seen across the face of the Uluru. And it is the smoke from the fire that sets us dreaming. This story indicates one of the reasons why Uluru is so important to the Australian Aborigines. Take the rock out of their control and they lose their power of dreaming, and by implication, the power to live. Above. According to the Aborigine creation myths, we are all holders of the dream time. Above left. The Aborigines' sacred art consists of pictorial representations of the dream time and how the world was created. North American Indian traditions. Like other traditional societies, Native American cultures find it difficult to define the border between the waking and the dreaming state, and the ability to dream is highly valued. Each of the great tribes has its own understanding of dreams, and complex dream culture exists. Iroquois traditionalists, for instance, have a strong belief in dream precognition and respect the ability of the gifted dreamer to provide information vital to the survival of the people. Because Iroquois culture is built on warrior values, any sign of being taken care of in a dream is greatly feared, as it is believed that it will undermine bravery. Where a dream indicates trouble or disaster, it is believed to be possible to change its outcome by placating the event that the community wishes to avert. In fact, drama and ritual play an important part in the Iroquois dream culture. Each year, people travel great distances to attend a festival where dreams are acted out in theatrical performance known as the Ondinok. According to the Iroquois, big dreams occur either because we have an out-of-body experience during sleep or because we receive an interesting dream visitor. These are dreams that put us in touch with our deepest spiritual source and contain vital information for health and well-being. The Navajo pay particular attention to the diagnostic aspect of dreams, seeing them as tools to pinpoint illness, particular mental states, and emotional disturbances. Dreams can also reveal a ritual cure for what is wrong, and if this is carried out in waking life, the dreamer will return to health. For instance, there is a story of a sick girl dreaming of 9 feasts and being persuaded by the medicine man that if she has these feasts in reality, she would recover from her illness. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, cat. So, above left. Through dream journeys, the shaman is able to connect with the animal world. And above right, the shaman is the guide through the dream. Without the shaman, our dreams are dangerous places to go. Left, ritual dances can be followed to interpret the dream in song and music. This is a valuable tool in dream interpretation, but one that is specific to a culture to those who understand the steps. The 4 directions. Some of you may recognize this. This is dream prompting. Each of the 4 directions is associated with a particular element and quality. The element of the north is air. North is associated with the power of the mind and clear thinking. Water belongs to the south and is associated with the feeling and intuitions. While the power of the west revitalizes and renews the physical body, its element is earth. The power of the east triggers enlightenment and spiritual realization and is the element of fire. The Navajo sand paintings uses the 4 elements in its symbolic representation of abundant crops. It is believed that positioning the bed in a particular direction allows the dreamer to work with the qualities of its associated element. Hopi dream prompters. And that, of course, you can find how to make a dream prompter in our original playlist called Dreams and Visions. For the Hopi, a dream is viewed as a message from spirit guides who can appear in the form of an animal or other guises. Waking up and not remembering a dream is seen as losing something essential, and people go to great lengths to ensure that this does not happen. A commonly used dream prompter is a squared circle, a symbolic device used to aid dream recall. A circle is drawn on a square piece of cloth or leather. The circle is then divided into 4 quarters to represent each of the 4 directions: north, south, west, and east. The square is then placed by the side of the bed. An item of symbolic value is placed in each of the 4 quarters. For instance, a tiny pot of water, a bunch of fresh grass, a lit candle, and some burning incense. These items represent each of the 4 elements of water, earth, fire, and air. Sleeping next to a dream prompter is believed to enhance dream recall. The Inuit shaman. The Canadian Inuit culture is similar to those found in other northern regions, such as Russia and the northern Scandinavian countries, where survival is challenged by the extreme climate. The Inuit believe the Anua souls exist in all people and animals. Individuals, families, and the tribes follow a system of taboos to ensure that animals will continue to make themselves available to the hunters, and rituals and ceremonies are performed before and after hunting expeditions to encourage success. The shaman is the spiritual leader of each tribe. He is able to interpret causes of sickness or lack of success in hunting in a manner similar to shamans or medicine men in other cultures. He enters a trance-like state with the aid of a drum beating and chanting. This allows him to travel out of his body, traversing great distances to determine the cause of sickness and other community problems, and to bring back the solutions. In this dreamlike state, the shaman is imbued with magical powers and can move about outside of the dream. Cultural pattern dreams. Anthropologists have suggested that dreams of traditional societies can be broken down into 4 types. Big dreams are those that possess cultural significance. Prophetic dreams predict or give advance warnings of events. Medical dreams promote diagnosis and healing, and little dreams are purely personal to the dreamer. Although all dreams are valued, the ones held to be the most significant are the big dreams. These powerful dreams are also known as cultural pattern dreams or official dreams. The dream world is the real world. That is a quote from Seneca, Indian healer. Sacred dreaming. Throughout the ancient world, the connection between dreams and spiritual belief was closely interwoven. Dreams seem to have played a significant role in the shaping of many of the world's major religions, appearing as part of their history and in their holy texts. Many of these dreams have a revelatory or visionary quality to them, with rich symbolic imagery and metaphor. These experiences are not the same as ordinary dreams most of us have much of the time, although it is possible to experience a dream of such profound significance that life can never be the same again. Buddhist enlightenment. For a long time before the birth of Gautama Buddha, circa 563 through circa 483 BC, many predictions had been made that a chosen one would arrive. While she was pregnant, Gautama's mother dreamt that she was carrying a shining, silvery white elephant with 6 tusks. Interpreters regarded the dream as an announcement of the chosen one's arrival. Elephants had a holy status in India. The Hindus' god Ganesh, remover of obstacles, is depicted with an elephant's head, while the unusual color and appearance of the elephant in the dream was also seen as significant. Later on in the Buddha's life, his father, a nobleman, had a dream in which his son left the family to become a monk. This came to pass when Gautama was 30 years old, when he left his family, renouncing his worldly status to seek enlightenment. Biblical visions. Dreams also figure largely in both the Old and New Testaments. In the Old Testament, important dreams often coincide with critical times in the development of Judaism. For instance, while in exile in Egypt, Joseph interprets the Pharaoh's dream. The Pharaoh dreams that 7 fat cattle are eaten by 7 lean ones, and then the 7 ripe ears of corn are destroyed by the 7 blighted ones. Joseph realizes that both dreams mean the same thing. They predict 7 years of plentiful harvest, followed by 7 years of scarcity, which will destroy the bounty of the previous 7 years. The Pharaoh acts on Joseph's interpretation, and during the bounteous years builds up large stores of grain. The interpretation not only saves the populace and the ruling system, but Joseph is promoted to a position of great political influence. In the New Testament, divine messages are often relayed in dreams. The angel Gabriel appears in a vision to the pregnant Mary, announcing that she will give birth to a child of the Holy Spirit. The angel also visits Joseph in a dream, telling him to accept Mary's pregnancy and to name the baby Jesus, because he will save the people from their sins. Dreams also contain warnings. For instance, Joseph is told to take his family to Egypt in order to escape Herod's jurisdiction, that all newborn male infants should be slain. Later, that same angel returns to Joseph, informing him that it is safe to return after Herod is dead. So, here in this box, Hindu beliefs. The Hindu religion has its own interpretation of what dreams are all about, and believes that some dreams come from the dreamer's own emotional nature, some from hidden fears, and some from playing back experiences in daily life. Certain dreams, however, come from the gods. These dreams only appear to very religious people, such as the sadhu, who lived a disciplined life, or sadhana, getting up before sunrise and practicing austerities. Down here we have a quote. And he said, "Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision and will speak to him in a dream." From the Old Testament, Numbers 12:6. To the right, Joseph became a dream interpreter to the Pharaoh, and his role became one of the most important people in the land. The Egyptians believed that dreams were messages from the gods. Above, angels have appeared to many in dreams. Are these dreams or visions, moments of madness or divine communication? One of the most well-known angelic dreams is Mary's, as she is told of the coming of Jesus. Islamic dreams. Dreams also seem to have played an important part in the building of Islam. It is said that Muhammad, circa 570 through 632 AD, had visions of Archangel Gabriel, who appeared to him when he was alone at night, praying and meditating. During one such visitation, the angel dictated the first chapter, or surah, of the Quran, the holy book of Islam. The Arabic root for the word Quran means address or recitation. According to the tradition, Muhammad could neither read nor write, but the Quran was recited word by word by him just as he had received it from Gabriel. Later, Muhammad had a dream or vision that he journeyed in the company of Gabriel and other angels. He was taken to holy places and to the 7 levels of heaven and hell, meeting important religious leaders and prophets from the past. This experience, referred to as the night journey, has inspired many writers and artists. The Talmud. The body of Jewish civil and ceremonial law, the Talmud, divides dreams into 3 types: dreams of prophecy, dreams of nonsense, and dreams that originate from a person's thoughts and experience during the day. The way a dream is interpreted helps determine its outcome, and actions such as fasting or reciting special prayers are as recommended atonement for a bad dream. And that is the end of Dreaming Through History. So thank you so much for joining us. And again, if you would like to see the first part, the introduction, and the first part of part 1, which is why we dream, you can look for that in our original playlist called Dreams and Visions. And we want to invite you all to look for us on Tuesday evening, the night of the 21st of each month. We will host a Dreamcast, and we're really looking forward to hanging out with all of you and discussing our dreams. So again, thank you for joining us. Look for the edited version of this coming soon, and have beautiful dreams, everyone. Thank you so much. Sweet dreams.